James, thank you so much for the subscription. So Red just threw this one at me in the Discord, and it's pretty funny. I gotta say, people are kind of mad at Joe Biden for the way that he responded to Kim Jong-un, apparently. And it's strange. It's strange in his Joe Biden way. But I mean, it is kind of funny. This is not, my camera's not on. This, my friends, oh my gosh. The immersion! The immersion! I was having to rush, sue me. So, Joe Biden apparently was asked, hey, do you have a message for Kim Jong-un while you're here? And this was the response from Joe Biden. Ready? Ready?
Period. Hello. Period.
Trump was way better at this. I gotta say, Trump was way better at this. He knew that Kim Jong-un was an egotistical maniac, right? Knew that in order to get him to do whatever he wanted, he had to glad hand him. What you're seeing here is what I would like to say is like probably like not very good diplomacy, but also a part of me is like solid response. That's like one of the first things that Joe Biden has done where I'm like, okay, I can live with that. I can live with that. Hello. Period. Credit where it's due. Okay, I gotta say. I was the first like, yeah, you were, like the stream if you haven't already. Because that's the first and only thing that we're going to say about Joe Biden today that's actually complimentary in any way. I know that many of you are going to disagree with me on that, but it made me laugh a little bit. It made me laugh a little bit. Is this going to be good ultimately for the relations between North Korea and America? Probably not. Joe Biden does not know how to handle dictators, clearly. Specifically Kim Jong-un. I think Trump did this way better. But I do hate Kim Jong-un. And that was a really great response. Hello. Period. How's everybody doing? Happy Monday. Great to see you here. We have a lot to talk about today. One of the things that I really have noted over the past, I should say, few weeks, has been that the left, the Democrat Party, the left, the entire establishment has really kind of jumped into theatrics more than it has actual facts, logic, common sense. And I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to point it out. I feel it's necessary to point this out because if you really look at things, and I've said this multiple times, and I'm going to keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. Nothing that the Democrat Party does at this point in time makes any sense. If you look at their withdrawal from Afghanistan, if you look at the way that they're handling the energy crisis, if you look at the way that they're leaving the borders open, which is increasing crime, every bit of our foreign policy is absolute dog mess. And it makes no sense that they're doing this, because even you and I, right now, with information given in front of us, would probably make way better decisions than the Biden administration is right now. But it only makes sense if you look at this. All this stuff only makes sense if you look at it through the lens of radicalism. I should say, let me say this, through the lens of radical activism. It makes more sense if you say, wow, this is exactly what a college radical would do. Someone who doesn't really know much about the world at all, but seems to have it all figured out and knows for a fact that America is evil, you're racist and bigoted, and everything would be much better if these college activists were just given the reins of the United States of America. It is from the angle of radical activism that we see all of this. And it's failed them. It's failed them so badly that they have no more legs to stand on. They shot themselves in the foot so many times, there's nothing left to stand on. So what do you do in this case? You put on a show. You put on as good a show as you possibly can in order to make people buy the idea that you're the best person for the job, that you're actually doing a great job, that despite all the news, despite what you're going through right now, it's all part of a plan by people who are far smarter than you, and you need to shut up. Good morning, all. Some psychiatrist is melting down at the Depp trial. Oh, really? Like as we speak? Oh, man. I've been wanting to cover it live, but I just don't know if I have the audience for that. I would love to drop in and see that. Prepping for a trip to Colorado Springs to see my sister. Lucky, dude. I want to go to Colorado so bad. The smile he gives acts like he's burned down KJU hard. In reality, he's not doing anything. Yeah, he hasn't done anything, really. He's just like, hello. Period. Did you seriously use the left with words logic in the same sentence? Compare and contrast. The media and the left have been crying wolf about civil war. Just Google civil war. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's another thing. I mean, you guys, I don't have to tell you guys this. You guys know it already. Because if you look at everything that they say, everything that they do, it's always the same thing. If we don't stop Republicans and the civilization, democracy as we know it is doomed. It's doomed. If we don't stop them at the polls and they're going to put black people back in chains, that was actually something Joe Biden said. Abortion. Is it abortion? Oh, women's rights are going to go away if they take away abortion. It's not women's rights. But you also had, it wasn't Muriel Bowser. It was, Chicago, Lori Lightfoot. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. After the whole abortion thing. They're coming for the LGBT community next. Get armed, said Lori Lightfoot, of all people. Anytime anything happens, like Dave Chappelle, they came after Dave Chappelle. Oh, Dave Chappelle's comedy special is going to cause trans people to be shot in the streets, brutally murdered. No, it's not. But everything is just so dramatic. Everything. It's so world-ending. And after a while, it just gets to a point where you stop believing that the sky is falling after Chicken Little shouts it a bajillion times. And the sky doesn't fall. The same thing happens in literally the sky falling. It's talking about that. Climate change. We're all going to die. 7 years. Okay, now it's 9 years. Okay, now it's 7 years again. We're all going to die soon. Why? Because Democrats aren't in charge. If you put Democrats in charge, they can stop the world from imploding and climate change taking over and killing everybody and killing all the crops or freezing the crops or burning the crops. We can stop global warming, global cooling. I mean, what? No, climate change. Whoops. Whatever it is, it's coming down the pipe. It's going to be really bad, but it's going to be stopped if you put us in charge, and we're able to just take control of society through use of the environment. It's always dramatics. You're going to die. The world's going to end. Something's going to happen after a while. You just stop taking it seriously. Good morning, Becca. I have a problem shutting up. Dude, you and me both, brother. You and me both. I'll stick around for a trial play. Thank you, James. You're doing God's work. You have no problem. Your audience has jobs. Maybe we can watch Amber taking another sniff. Did y'all see that? It was like a thing on TikTok for a while where Amber Heard goes, and then my dog stepped on a bee. Oh. And then like everybody started making like rhymes for and then they put there, it was like oh yeah, and then I had to pee. Oh. She and her legal team are burning her case with what minuscule amount ever existed to the ground. Here's what, you know what it was about that whole thing? I bet that they thought that they would go to court. And because Amber Heard is a famous woman, that a bunch of people would get behind her and society overall would just blindly support her. And so they thought, if we take it to court, then, we're going to have all the public sympathy. Everyone's going to be behind us. This is going to be an open and shut case where Johnny Depp is made a fool of and, Amber Heard walks away Me Too style. And it did not turn out that way because the tide is turning. I think Me Too ruined it for Me Too, if I'm being honest with you. And I've seen over the past couple days, like Men Too is trending. And I think that, the feminism that they tried to push on society, this whole like women can do nothing wrong and they need to be believed at all moments, no matter what claims they make and how absurd they are, they need to be believed first before they're doubted. I think it backfired on them. I think that they walked in, they thought that they were going to clean house, and they just didn't. People were sympathetic more to Johnny Depp than they were to Amber Heard, and for good reason. All the evidence says that while, Johnny Depp isn't a perfect person, who is, Amber Heard was definitely an abuser. And they turned on her. And everything says that, I think they went in cocky and now they're leaving empty-handed. And good. Good. Democracy is doomed, just not for those reasons. Why, Mentats? They sow chaos with deceit, with such drama, just so they can take control. Well put, Amtrue. It's all drama. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Did you see the guy on OK who wanted all men to get vasectomies? I didn't see that, but I can tell you that I know for a fact that those people exist. And they have platforms. They think that, if women are forced to get abortions, forced to carry to term, not get abortions, then men should have vasectomies, be forced to get vasectomies. It's like, why is always force on the tip of your tongue, man? It's not that. That's not the way that works. The hole in the ozone layer that destroyed the hairspray industry was supposed to have killed us already. Maybe we're already all dead, and this is just like a worldwide sixth sense phenomenon we're going through. We're all dead people. We should have listened. Need a good laugh this morning. What's up, Amtrue? How you doing? She destroyed his fingers. Saw pics today. Wow, dude, some of the stuff that she did to him Everyone's talking about the crap on the bed, which understandable, right? Understandable. Amber Turd, pretty crazy stuff. But the whole cutting off the finger thing, or not cutting it off, but I guess, well, I mean, she likes, I forget how it exactly happened, but that to me is like the more intense thing. If you say a lie long enough, eventually people will believe it. This is why I keep saying this over and over again. People just, they're catching on. They're catching on, thank God. But for a long time, I was like, there's a big reason we need to get involved in the greater culture, and we need to start injecting ourselves into Hollywood, taking over the big stages. Because when they have total control, they can just feed these lines over and over and over and over and over again to people, and eventually people just believe it. They can introduce various ways of controlling the conversation, and people just go along with it because they haven't been introduced to anything else. Thank God for the internet. Can you imagine what this would be like right now? Let's say we were radicalized to the point that where the left has been radicalized to the point that they are, and there was still no internet. They could just control the mainstream media and say whatever they want, whether it's the news programs, the silver screen, TV screen, radio, video games, all of this stuff. They could just control it all, and that would be the only narrative. Can you imagine? Thank God for the internet. Like Nick Recchietta talked about on his coverage, look at the testimony. Depp had people fly in and testify in person, heard video depositions after video depositions. I mean, if Johnny Depp was like, hey, can you come speak on my behalf? I'd be like, yeah, I'll fly out. I'll take a day off work. I'll come defend Jack Sparrow. You kidding me? Platforms or platform shoes? Yes. Hey, just because she gave shit in the relationship, that doesn't make her a bad person. Oh no, wait, she literally did. Yeah, that was an actual Amber Turd that she laid down on the bed. Threw a bottle of vodka. Yeah, thank you. That's what happened. She threw the bottle of vodka and it hit Johnny Depp in the hand. And yeah, here's a quick tip, quick relationship tip. Don't throw bottles of vodka at people. I feel like that's not that hard. My sorority mom had a word for people like this: cliff jumpers. You're either on the cliff or in the air, no in between. God, that is such a good. That's really good, actually. I like that. Internet made the world smaller for sure. I don't think it made the words. Yeah. I see what you're saying. I think it actually it did two things. It did make the world smaller in a sense, but I also think that it made the world more populated at the same time. And so you have all these people all at once giving their opinions and introducing information into the ether, which, for better or worse, did really complicate the conversation for a long time. But it's not complicated because of all the people talking. It's complicated because we as a species did not understand how to handle everyone talking all at once. I think that we as a species are slowly learning to live alongside the internet and treat it as it should be treated, which is a source of information where the information that you get needs to be weighed and measured. Don't just automatically believe everything that you see on the internet. Very important. Even still to this day, people see stuff on TikTok and they're like, oh, I saw this on TikTok, so it must be true. It's like, no, it's not true, man. It's not true at all. In fact, you have entire TikToks dedicated to debunking TikToks, which I think is really interesting. But again, that's just the great thing about the internet. People are going to introduce bad information, and it's up to people to go through and figure out whether or not what is being said is true or false. In the end, the internet is an information Wild West, and it should be. It should be. No one person should have the power to relegate information on the internet, because if they can, they're just going to make everything say what they want it to say and not not the truth. Rand Paul was right. Let people figure out what the truth is. Speaking of which, just real fast before we dive into more of this, I wanted to cover this real fast because I thought it was really interesting. The new Ricky Gervais special might be the reason Netflix sent out its memo suggesting woke employees quit. No, for those of you who, y'all remember when Netflix sent out that memo? And I talked about it last stream on Friday. Netflix sent out that memo basically telling woke employees, hey, if you don't like what we're coming out with or what we're talking about, maybe working here is not for you. It did two things. One, it signaled that Netflix is stepping away from woke culture, which is cool. I'm happy that they're doing that. I think they absolutely should. Young Ripa, by the way, he kind of said something on his show about how people should not go to Netflix now, even now, because they're just doing this for money reasons. I disagree with him. And in all respect to Young Ripa, he's Eric July. He's one of my favorite guys to watch and listen to. He wants to go scorched earth on Netflix. I kind of disagree with that. I think Netflix is a little too large. I don't know if they're just going to keel over. I would much rather have them learn their lesson and reward them, and then have other companies see that and learn their lesson too. That if they swap it up, they switch it up and stop being concerned about what the left and the woke want them to do and start being concerned about what the rest of America wants to watch. Not some small group, the big group. If they just stop focusing on politics and really focus more on entertainment and good entertainment, then people are going to come back, people are going to subscribe, people are going, which is probably going to happen anyway. And I'll tell you why. Dave Chappelle releases both of his comedy specials, The Closer and the Sticks and Stones. He releases those, and people universally love this. They love his comedy specials. They think that they're like masterpieces, and they are masterpieces. They're so good, right? You go to Rotten Tomatoes, it's got like a 99 approval rating from customers, whereas the critics just absolutely hate it. They demolish it. Both of these specials elicit insane anger from the woke blue checks on Twitter, media figures. You have activists out there. You have walkouts from the transgender employees at Netflix. All this stuff goes down, and it doesn't make a dent. Netflix is suffering now, but I don't think that's because of their decision to step away from woke culture. I think that it's going down because a lot of people decided to step away because of woke culture. Okay. The woke didn't originally step away. We all did. And they're trying to get us back there. They've done research. They understand the demographics and who walked away. They're trying to get us back now. They've effectively learned their lesson. And fast forward to now. They have been, according to sources, I haven't had this confirmed, I've just seen reports. They have been sitting on a Ricky Gervais special for some time now. And if they released it, it would cause a massive stir at Netflix among its radical lefty employees. According to one of the guys here, a SiriusXM host, Sam Roberts, who he at one point in time produced the Opie and Anthony show, he watched the special, which comes out tomorrow, by the way. The new Ricky Gervais comedy special comes out tomorrow. It's called Supernature. He had watched it, and he said, this is way more, this goes way further than Dave Chappelle went. They were sitting on it, and he goes, now I'm looking at the memo that Netflix sent out to its employees saying, if you don't like working on this stuff, then you're going to have to go. There's the door. He said, I know now that this is about you. 100% this is about you. In his comedy special. Whatever's happening at Netflix tomorrow, it's going to be big. I'm going to watch this Ricky Gervais special the moment it drops. And I will report back to you guys on Wednesday what I found. Expect an article even sooner than that. I cannot wait to see this. Whatever it is. Ricky Gervais has become a hero to the common man lately, just because he is willing to spit in the face of the elite, the radical left, the transgender community. He's basically tackling all of these people who cannot be made fun of, or don't, like, they try to make it hard to make fun of them through various means, whether it's, social, like making people social pariahs, cancel culture, all this stuff. He's going after all of them. I'm excited. I'm super excited. And I can't wait to see what Netflix releases after this. I hope this gets super successful, whatever it is. All fun and games until someone loses. But who debunks the debunkers of TikTok? The debunkers of the debunkers of the debunkers. I might resubscribe for this one. This is what I'm saying. If people are under, like, if they see Ricky Gervais's comedy special and a huge stink is raised about it from the radical left, and it's just celebrated by everyone else, which is exactly what happened to Dave Chappelle, guaranteed you're gonna have a lot of people resub to Netflix and come back just to watch this Ricky Gervais special. And on top of that, if my prediction is correct, you're going to see a lot of the left, the blue check marks on Twitter, media figures, activists, and all this stuff, they're going to lose their minds and try to launch a campaign which is going to cause more people to resub to Netflix just to spite them. Spite is very powerful in our society. It does not get the credit it deserves. Spite is a powerful motivator. Netflix lost a bunch of subs too. I think they all did. I don't know of anybody who actually, I could be wrong. I haven't looked very deeply into it, but a lot of people are reporting sub loss. I think that as the COVID restrictions, I shouldn't say restrictions. I mean, the restrictions are lifted, but I think it goes beyond restrictions. I think there was a real COVID fear that hadn't abated yet. And as it abates, you're going to have more people going out, going to work. They're not going to have time to sit around and watch Netflix anymore. So they unsub. I think it's part of it, at least. Have you seen what Paramount has done to Halo? So close to being good, then they started writing their script. Dude, James, it's funny that you say that you bring up Halo, because I contemplated on Saturday dedicating a good amount of time on this stream to talking about Halo. I have been keeping track of it just to see, like, hey, maybe it gets good, maybe they turn it around, maybe it's just, no. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse to the point where you're just like, it's not Halo. This isn't Halo at all. It's such bad. I forget who said it. Someone called it really like it is 100% fan fiction writing. Bad fan fiction writing. Made by people who are not writers. And it is 100% accurate. The show's all over the place. It doesn't understand where it wants to go, what it wants to do. Like, it could be good. It has the seeds of being good, but, like, they just salted the earth. It's not going to grow anything. James, down to Amazon and YouTube, gave up NFL 2 or 3 years ago. Watching 2,000 Mules tomorrow at the theater. Going to be interesting to see how many people are there to see it. I actually want to see that. I heard it's pretty good. Be the trucker lady from Black Mirror. Amen, dude. Be the trucker lady from Black Mirror. She's so great. I would play her scene on this right now, but I guarantee you, at the moment I did, YouTube would be like, copyright. I forget that award show Ricky did, but he roasted the Hollywood elite. That was the Golden Globes back in 2019? 2019 Golden? No, 2020 Golden Globes. Excuse me. Was great to watch. That was one of the best. That was actually what kicked off Ricky Gervais becoming such a beloved figure. He literally stuck it to those people. Like, it was this line. You have no idea. No. It was, you know nothing about the real world. You know nothing about the real world. He told that to these people's faces, and it is one of the greatest moments in Hollywood history. Very few moments actually matched up to it. There have been a few, but that moment, like, at least in award show history, let's say that. And from there on, Ricky became kind of like this guy who he weighs in to a lot of this nonsense that is happening in our. Ricky Gervais was doing his job. And this is very important for people to understand. Comedy is society's greatest disinfectant. A comedian's job isn't just to tell jokes. I mean, that's his primary job. His job is to make people laugh. But beneath all of that, a comedian's job is to point out the absurdity of society and make light of it. If comedians aren't allowed to do that, like for a while, comedy was more or less outlawed in the United States, not by law or federal government or anything like that, but by the people who then controlled society and who were pretty much dominating it, which was woke culture. Social justice warriors and all these people had come in and made sure that comedy could only be comedy if it touted a certain message. Without comedy, you create things like sacred cows. Sacred cows in our society cannot be made fun of. You had the creation of the transgender movement happen because people were not allowed to make fun. As we know it today, the transgender community as we know it today came about because people were not allowed to make light of the transgender community at all. And next thing you know, so like a couple years, maybe several years down the line, you literally had a 12-year-old kid like performing I'm Just a Girl in a New York gay bar at 2 a.m. or midnight or whatever, doesn't matter, in front of a screaming crowd, while they tossed money at him. There were people in that bar who were creating videos that were just like, I don't know what's happening here. I don't know where this kid's parents are, but we're out. We're not taking part of this. We're leaving. This is too much. You had children, trans children, standing next to RuPaul Drag Race show contestants, one of whom was buck-ass naked, just standing next to one another, all because we weren't allowed to say anything bad about the transgender community. The hubris grew so much that they started doing stuff like that. This is the point of comedians. You need to be able to point out the absurdity and the stupidity of every group in society, every single one of them. I don't care who they are, every single one of them. No one should be holier than thou. The holiest of holies. No one. Because if you allow that to happen and you're not allowed to make fun of them, then they grow in power in our society. You can't criticize, you can't say anything against, and because of that, they gain power in our society. The transgender community is a really good example of this. Everybody needs to be made fun of because it keeps everyone realistic. South Park, in my honest opinion, is one of the most valuable TV shows we have in our society today because it points out the absurdity of every single group in our society and makes them seem less important than they actually try to make themselves be. You know, beneath all the gaudy exterior and the fart jokes and the poop jokes and, you know, all this stuff, South Park is probably one of the most intelligent shows on the planet. No joke. And it's necessary. Comedians are absolutely necessary for society to function. I was and still am a Doom fan. I never got into Halo. Had a PlayStation. Dude, the new Doom rocks. I actually played that on stream not long ago. It's the ebb and flow. People are keeping one or two streaming services active when they want to watch all new shows. They cancel and switch to something else that's got new content. And that's actually kind of smart when you think about it. I really like the beginning of AZ's review of his first episode of Halo, mimicking the Halo theme. Oh. James, I'm enjoying Halo to be honest. I don't play it, though. Yeah, if you... it's too woke for me, that new Halo. It's too woke for me. You haven't watched 2,000 Mules? No, Carrie, I don't have time to sit and watch everything. I've got... I have a limited amount of time. I'm a very busy man. I'm watching Halo like two trains about to crash head on. Ugh. Bill Maher came out and said it's not all about you to the LGBT plus community. It was glorious. Bill Maher, too. Bill Maher's been impressing me lately. Bill Maher has always been something of a libertarian, a little bit, but he has authoritarian leanings from time to time, and I feel like those are starting to go away a little bit on his part as authoritarians actually do start to pop up and make life a little bit miserable for all of us. It's time for some sacred burgers. Amen. Eat these sacred cows alive. You have to remember the left can't laugh at themselves. Nope. There's one thing the devil can't stand. It's to be laughed at. C.S. Lewis. We are living in South Park. Prove me wrong. No, we are. We are. It's funny that everyone gives The Simpsons credit for being able to tell the future. No. South Park is like they take South Park's thing is they take a thing and they try to make it as absurd as possible in order to push a realistic point. But the funny thing is that reality comes to meet Matt Stone and Trey Parker where their heads at. It's scary to think about. The writers of South Park are right wings. They're confessed Republicans. You've spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. Yeah, solid line from Ricky Gervais. I am watching South Park right now. Best thing on TV that I can handle. Better than the news. Yeah. Because they're realistic. It's funny that they're the most realistic program, despite the fact that they're the least, they go into absurdity in order to push it. Comedy is the canary in the coal mine. That is exactly what I said not long ago. My words, word for word. Comedy is the canary in the coal mine. Everything or anything. In regards to what? Joe Cunningham wrote a piece that really inspired me to make the whole Theatrics thing the theme of today's program. Have you seen Freedom Tools yet? I have not. The rip on Disney was great. Oh, dude. Is that the one about Disney in China? That was so good. That was such a good episode. Joe Cunningham wrote this. The Biden administration has spent the vast majority of its time in power reacting to news stories rather than initiating sound policy that has a measurable impact on any of the crises Americans have faced over the last 2 years. The results have been catastrophic. They have kept in place senseless COVID-19 mitigation protocols that have had little to no impact on spread and have only hurt Americans, particularly children. They have insisted that throwing money into the economy is the way to fix it. They have outright refused to acknowledge their role in inflation, gas prices, a baby formula shortage, etc. I went into the store recently at my local Kroger and just walked into the baby aisle just to see if it was as bad as they say, and it really is as bad as they say. I mean, the formula shelves are just barren, and it's sad. I can only think of the mothers, and I hope this clears up before my baby is born. The mothers right now that are panicking because they can't feed their kid. They have to go above and beyond in order to secure food for their babies. Somebody needs to take those Joe Biden stickers that they are putting on gas pumps. I did that. And they need to stick those in the baby formula area. None of it bodes well for the future of the administration, which is facing a potentially record-breaking red wave this coming midterm election. Real fast, I want to say this really fast and move on. Don't get comfortable. The whole red wave thing that you keep hearing about, it only happens if you participate. Get out there and vote. Don't think someone else is going to carry the water for you. Go out and do it. Don't get lazy. Don't get cocky. Get out there and vote. Because of their inability to actually come up with reasonable policies, the administration has chosen theater rather than governance to show the American people they're doing what they can to help. Take this weekend's absolutely a pathetic attempt to spin the formula issue. That's left the Biden administration scrambling, invoking the Defense Production Act, and ordering the military to fly in baby formula from Europe. Now, the White House is looking to claim credit for what little difference those things might make, and it's pathetic showing. So they're trying to fly in baby formula from out of state. What's funny, though, is didn't we read recently that there was a bunch of baby formula just sitting at border facilities? A bunch of it? Interesting. Yes, what truly sent things into a spiral was an FDA recall at the Abbott plant in Michigan, which produces a large amount of the nation's baby formula. Even after it became clear that no babies had been made sick by what the plant had sent out, the FDA continued to drag its feet for months on end, refusing to rectify the facility. That led to a massive shortage across the country that Biden is now trying to fix today by spending more taxpayer money, which in turn creates more inflation. The Democrat Party is a child with daddy's credit card. They don't understand the money behind it. They don't care. They just think daddy will pay for it. It's daddy's money. And just in case you're wondering, where daddy? And they just swipe for millions and billions of dollars at a time. They don't care. We're spending our grandchildren's money at this point. All it takes is the Biden administration coming out and announcing they are rescinding all limitations on the importation of baby formula from outside of the U.S. and that they are cutting the regulatory red tape that makes it impossible to import. That immediately opens the market up to foreign baby formula and eases the problem straight away. But instead, they choose to launch an operation that makes it look as though that they're on the front lines fighting a crisis that they themselves created. Theater. They could fix the problem right now. This goes for a lot of problems right now happening in America. They could just fix it. There are ways to do it, just as Joe pointed out. They're not doing that. They'd rather themselves look like action heroes. Look at what we're doing. We're launching an operation. Screw your operation, dude. Do what's necessary. Get this country back in line. They won't do it. They won't. Why? Whenever your side, whenever your ideology, whenever you fail and you have nothing as far as explanations go, as far as reasonability goes, if you have no good arguments, what do? You launch into dramatics. Because dramatics at least might make an emotional appeal, or it might trigger some part of the brain to make it seem like that you're a much grander entity than you actually are, and that you are going through some Shakespearean nonsense in order to make things happen because the previous administration had screwed everything up. Look at everything that we're having to do in order to fix it. You have had a long time in office now, or at least it feels like a long time. And we're still not seeing any improvements to the end. We just keep sinking. We keep sinking. At least we don't have mean tweets. Or consider the initial gas and oil price spikes as far back as November. As people began to feel the pressure at the pump, the Biden administration did nothing until even friendly media outlets couldn't help but report it. The response? Send in the Federal Trade Commission to threaten to investigate anti-consumer practices. These tactics from the Biden administration continued into March. Could they do more to help the oil crisis? Release the regulations, the red tape on a lot of these companies so that they can drill and get oil to the people? They could, but why? Their base would get pissed off at them if they did that. So why not instead make a show of making it the oil company's fault? They're doing something evil. We need to investigate into it because this oil crisis is their fault. Also Putin's, but their fault too. Theatrics. When Biden's former boss, President Barack Obama, was in charge, he was famous for telling the media, "We learned about it when you did. We learned about it when you did." When a damning story came out, the Biden administration has gone one step further by being caught openly flat-footed every step of the way. They can do nothing but react when they're called out by friendly media outlets for their lack of action and their inconsistent statements. As a result of those stories, they write letters and send planes to Germany. Wonderful work. The Biden administration simply cannot handle a crisis with any sort of governance whatsoever. They deflect, they create hashtags, and they perform theater. Meanwhile, the crises continue to get worse. That, by the way, is why the polling is so atrocious for Joe Biden. His administration is seen as making the inflation problem worse with the money it shoveled into the economy. And they're also seen as being absolute no-shows where every other issue is concerned. It's so bad that Hispanic voters have the most unfavorable view of the Biden administration, and Biden's support among black voters has dropped 20 points. You can't act your way out of a problem like this. You can't dramatize things when the things that you're trying to dramatize are so obviously your fault. It's like a kid getting caught with his hand in the cookie jar and mom coming in and saying, "Got you, you're grounded." And the kid with his hand still in the cookie jar going, I'm not stealing the cookies. It's not me. It's not me. I didn't do it. Bro, your hand's in the cookie jar. Yeah, but it's not me. This is why, come midterms, the Biden administration and the Democrat Party are going to have, I wouldn't even call it an uphill battle. They're going to have to scale a skyscraper in order to come out with any sort of positive outcome. Period. I've got friends on YouTube that are grouping together. So if a store gets in what anyone needs, they buy it and mail it to their friends in need. That's awesome. So you're not completely competing locally for the formula on the shelves. That's good. Brandon, they don't care. It is other people's money. No, you're right. You're right. They don't have to pay it. Why do they care? Again, kid with daddy's credit card. Abbott should be back in production within 2 weeks. The stores should have more in about 6 weeks. Good. I hope so. But let everyone recognize the real issue here. The real issue was that the federal government dragged their feet, and because of that, many babies suffered as a result. They went hungry. Can you imagine the torture that is for a parent to watch their baby struggle like that because some people in a swampy little corner of America didn't get off their ass? They don't care about you. They don't care about you. Remember the rap song, "You Down with the OPP, Our Government." Pickled Squirrel, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. If you're near a Mexican grocery store that carries Mexican goods, some of those have baby formula from Mexico. I don't know much about baby formula, at least not yet. I'm probably going to get a crash course at some point. But from what I understand, some babies are very particular when it comes to, like, they can't just switch formulas. $6 gas by August. God. Go up and fill up your tanks now before it gets worse. Gas too expensive, buy an electric car. Oh crap, Tesla got red pilled. But Ford! Dude, all these other, now they're all trying to compete with Elon. The trouble is like the only way that they're going to compete with Elon is if they price him out and make their cars cheaper. But at the end of the day, I mean, I've ridden in a Tesla. I've driven a Tesla around. It's just not just a car. That's an experience, man. I love Teslas. If I could, I would get a Tesla truck, but I'm going to wait for them to stop looking like a PS1 polygonish truck. You know, I'm going to wait. This is what they really want. Easier to control a population when you limit how much fuel you can have. You're not wrong. I think that there's a lot of variables in the background. Because again, it doesn't make any sense. A lot of these things that they're doing don't make sense. I think that they are absolutely 100% doing a lot of the stuff on purpose. And I think it's a lot of it boils down to political agenda. Radical political agenda is really what I think. And you don't need to be an Alex Jones conspiracy theorist person in order to come to that conclusion. These people they're not shy about telling you what they want and what they're willing to do in order to complete their tasks and get what they want. They're not shy about telling it to you. They'll tell you. A lot of the conspiracy theories out there that roam around what the intention behind many things the government does, they don't really need to be conspiracy theories. They have people who come out and say, here's what I want. Here's what I'm willing to do to get what I want. I wasn't taking a cookie. I'm just rearranging to count. Yeah, that's it. It was Putin was stealing cookies out of the cookie jar. And those Republicans. The money, power, and control involved in the green agenda or Agenda 21 or whatever agenda they are now on. Starve a population, there will be chaos. Starve a population. I don't know about Agenda 21. I've not looked into it. I've heard people talk about it, but I don't really know much about it or what it is. Have you seen what's happening in Sri Lanka? I have not. Abbott did the required cleanup, and FDA took their sweet time doing the inspections so they could report the plant or reopen the plant. Yeah, this is government failure. You know what they should have done is at least keep this on a state level. The FDA, I don't know, man. I think that everything would operate a lot better if it was down to a more localized level. Because the federal government can't run an entire country. It can't. That's why the founding fathers broke it up into 50 little countries. I shouldn't. Back then it wasn't 50. You get what I'm trying to say, though. The idea is that these are little countries that run themselves. Because the federal, America, people don't understand. America is a massive, massive place with a lot of people here. And one government overseeing it all is pretty much impossible. That's why you have more localized governments doing what they do. Here goes another thing I wanted to point out. Here comes the fear porn from monkeypox from Joe Biden. They had COVID. People stopped being afraid of COVID because they found out that it has a 99.9% survival rate, especially as Omicron came out. All that stuff happened. People weren't dying in droves like they said that they would be. Now we got to have something. We need something to be afraid of. Got to have something to be afraid of. Everybody should be concerned about it, Biden said in South Korea while speaking with a group of reporters before he boarded Air Force One for Japan, Reuters reported. The president's remarks come as numerous outbreaks of monkeypox were reported in Africa, followed by other reported cases in Europe and the U.S. We're working on it. Hard to figure out what we do, added Biden. While there are at least 80 confirmed cases of the disease worldwide and another 50 suspected cases, the U.S. has only confirmed a pair of cases after a man in Massachusetts was diagnosed with the disease. Another man in New York also tested positive for monkeypox. As my colleague Bob Hogue reported, monkeypox isn't exactly new. It's been around for many years, although it's relatively rare. Indeed, there was a case in Dallas last year, and there have been cases in the U.S. before without anyone losing their minds over them. But what is making scientists wonder about this current spread is that people in Britain, Spain, Portugal, Italy, and United States, Sweden, and Canada who are picking it up now seem to have had no travel to Africa before getting it. So this is excellent, fertile soil to create another panic. And what happens when people panic? They turn to the government. Help us. What do we do? Do something. # do something. Oh it would make them just so happy to have people back ready to be told what to do, and they'll do anything in order to save themselves from the next outbreak, the next thing to come and kill them. But it's just more theatrics. Another thing, Joe Biden makes pathetic attempt to spin the baby formula crisis he created. We just talked about that overall with the theatrics thing. More theatrics. Theatrics, theatrics, theatrics. What about narrative? Joe Biden's handlers rushed to clean up his statement on Taiwan. He says one thing. Not supposed to say that. They have to cover it up. They have to reorganize and massage his messaging. This is another piece of theatrics. He's clearly not running the show. He's on strings. He dances in front of a crowd, and when he says the wrong thing, they have to correct it. He has to stay on script. Because if you go off script, the play derails. The show derails. You got to stick to the script. He didn't stick to the script. Now they're doing cleanup, and this happens quite a bit in the Biden administration. It's all theatrics. I've said this before. Look into Sri Lanka, seriously. Taiwan is not Ukraine, apples and oranges. They might think it might be spreading due to sexual encounters. Ooh. Isn't that kind of how AIDS came about? Am I wrong in thinking that? Because they said, well, where did AIDS just suddenly spring up from? It's because someone decided to get funky with a monkey. Wasn't that the explanation? He said that before on Taiwan early on in his presidency. He's not supposed to say it. He's not supposed to say it. Although it is exactly what we're going to have to do. If we don't jump in whenever China attacks Taiwan, and that's a win, not if. If we don't do anything about it, well, then what are we? We're supposed to be like one of the world's policemen and make sure that things don't get out of control and that peace is maintained. But if people can just walk in and take a country just because they want it, then what's the point of us? We lose our power. Now, given I don't want to be involved in foreign affairs at all. But I mean, if people are our allies and they see us not helping them whenever someone tries to invade them, then what's the point of being our ally? And it only emboldens the terrorists because they're going to go, well, they didn't really do much on Ukraine. They're not going to do much on Taiwan. We can do whatever they want. We can do whatever we want. And U.S. will just sit there and shake their finger at us. They're going to shake their finger, but they're not going to really do anything in the long run. That's what I remember folks saying, AIDS come from monkeys. Yeah. Japan will back Taiwan to the hilt because they would be next. They don't care about what happens. Anyone else does. Man, Joe Biden can't get out of office fast enough, in my honest opinion. Seriously. Theatrics of narrative. A gunman's mental health status cannot be discussed when it runs counter to media narratives. This is from Brad Slager. We talked about this the other day. The mass shooting happened. And immediately, everybody on the left wanted to make it about one thing or another. They wanted to make it about white supremacy. They wanted to make it about gun control. Okay, they didn't want to make it about mental illness. And as Brad kind of highlights in his article, they're doing everything that they can to avoid that right now. What's up, Delacroix? The tiger has lost its teeth. Pax Americana is over. Yes, NSA, you saw me say that. Is he talking about Joe? This is a good piece from Brad. It's a great piece. If China moves on Taiwan, I can see Kim going for South Korea. I'm pretty sure that if China moves on Taiwan, it's not just going to be, hey, I'm moving on Taiwan. I'm pretty sure they're going to have a lot more. I think you're right. I think that it's going to embolden leaders, but it's because China purposely emboldened other leaders. Why focus everything on Taiwan when you can spread it out and divert attention? You know what I'm saying? Spread resources a little bit more thin. A recent example of gun violence this is from Brad Slager. A recent example of gun violence has very telling aspects about it that are troubling. The location was a place of business, and the victims were intentionally selected as targets based on race. Those familiar with the shooter attest to him having made declarations about his animus toward his potential victims, with many delusions that the members of an ethnic group were a growing problem for his existence. This hatred may have inspired him to commit a number of shootings. Now, that last sentence may have given you pause. The shooter at the Tops grocery store in Buffalo is only known to have committed that one shooting. What gives? Well, what I described, though identical in nature, were not the particulars of Peyton, I'm sorry, I'm not going to read his name, massacre. Instead, I give you the details concerning a spate of shootings in the Dallas area targeting businesses operated by Asian Americans. Another shooter was taken into custody following his arriving at a local beauty salon in the city's Koreatown region, opening fire on the employees and clientele, which injured 3. His vehicle and description are closely affiliated with 2 other such incidents targeting Asian businesses with Asian victims. Funny enough, we do not see the press seeking the services of a chiropractor after their desire to twist and spin this story, as they have been in Buffalo. The primary reason is that Jeremy Smith is an African American, and as such, he cannot possibly serve as a face for the media's preferred narratives. Therefore, there is no desire to use him as a poster figure for gun control. Not only can't he be held up as an example of racial intolerance and hatred, but they can't point to him as a victim of Republican indoctrination. As a result, Smith's actions are reported as the result of mental illness. But this leads us to a very interesting dynamic coming into play. The Buffalo shooter's motivation is being staunchly fought as not being the result of mental illness. We are told by a bevy of experts that racism is a choice. It is not something deriving from mental impairment. Of course, these experts need to pretend to ignore that the shooter was previously under mental health evaluations last year. This is later backed up by schoolmates who reportedly noted very odd behavior from the soon-to-be shooter. He had been taken in for making threatening remarks about violence. This was not a stable individual by any measure. Yet, when Tucker Carlson, the very target of the blame by the media, dared give voice to this reasoning, of course it was scoffed away. Now, I think I need some clarity on these 2 episodes. With sole exception of the race of the individual involved, we have practically mirror image behavior patterns. 2 disturbed individuals acted violently due to imbalanced views on race after alerting a number of people of their tendencies, but for reasons that seem to be rooted in the desired storyline in the press. One case sees the press blithely alluding to there being a mental disorder, while the other one with a pre-written agenda script. Any discussion of mental impairment is forbidden. Do you see the theatrics here? I'm sure it's not hard to point out. The left has an agenda, and that agenda says that white people are evil, that everything that they do that is evil, even if it's not evil, they literally come up with concepts to make white people evil just for doing mundane things. Meanwhile, the black community is consistently the victim. Consistently. Doesn't matter what happens or what they do. They are the victim. Even when they were destroying during the Black Lives Matter riots, the left made the they did two things. One, they tried to drag out that Martin Luther King quote of like, the riot is the voice of the voiceless or something like that. And they said that much of what they were doing whenever they would steal from stores and stuff was reparations. So again, they're painting them as a victim, and they're just getting theirs, what they were owed for their victimhood. Literally, two men can go out and do the exact same thing pretty much with the exact same motives, but only one of them is going to be targeted as being evil. The other one is just a victim of mental illness. Both of them were mentally ill. Both of them. But in order for their narrative to survive, or at least be reinforced, they have to rely on theatrics. They have to make they have to make this big production, this big song and dance about white supremacy, about the evils of a gun culture in America, about how the internet needs to be controlled because there's so much misinformation out there and spreading it around. They have to put on this big production, this big play. But if you really break it down, it's covering up a lot of very real arguments, very real facts, very real points that people need to make, nuances that we're not highlighting. It's all just a play. It's all a production. You're being lied to. Constantly. All for an agenda. The conversation that we should be having is never the conversation that we should be having. Joe Biden in the conversation about Taiwan. Joe Biden in the conversation about what happened with the baby formula. None of the conversations that we're having right now are the conversations that we should be having. All these conversations are revolving around what they want us to be talking about. It's not the Democrat Party's inflation. It's Putin's price hike. Over and over and over again, we see this. Joe has gone mentally, yeah. It boggles the mind. They do this all the time. Yeah, there were 4 mass shootings the day before this one. Even if they weren't, or what? It's if you have the gumption to go out and shoot innocent people, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. You could sit there. It doesn't matter what your reasoning is. Whether you say, "Oh, well, it's because I'm a white supremacist." Okay, well, it's because I'm a black supremacist. Okay, what? It's because I'm a NBC over ABC supremacist. Okay, whatever. Doesn't matter. I prefer white bread to wheat bread. Okay. Doesn't matter what your excuse is for shooting somebody. The fact that you went in and shot people who didn't deserve to be shot tells me that there's a screw loose somewhere. Probably need to get that checked out. We need to investigate that. You don't I forget what the movie is called, but it was starring Will Smith. And the NFL had a really bad problem with a lot of their players just kind of going crazy. Couldn't figure out why. They just started going crazy. And the players who did go crazy, they talked about like something was in their head. Something happened. And the NFL tried to cover it up for a while. But it turns out that a lot of what was happening in the NFL was caused from brain injuries. And they tried to cover it up. It would kind of be like the conversation that we needed to have was, okay, what is happening to these players? What about their equipment is kind of helping that go along with the brain injuries, right? You had players like killing themselves in the stomach and leaving their heads intact so that they could be studied. That kind of stuff. Because they were just going crazy. Imagine that situation where you're supposed to be having a conversation about why these players or like what's happening in their heads is happening, but instead you're making it about something else. Well, the problem only gets worse. But if you had had the conversation about why the players are doing it in the first place and like what's affecting their brain health, you would have solved the problem way faster. You would have had a lot more healthier players, maybe fewer beaten wives. Okay? It's just a really good idea to focus on the conversation that you need to be having. Instead, what Democrats are trying to do in this case is they're trying, and leftists in particular, like these radical leftist activists, they're trying to create a conversation to mask the conversation we should be having. They don't want it to be their fault. It has to be something else. It's all theatrics. Remember the Christmas Parade massacre? The media blamed the SUV, not the driver. Yeah, that's a really good point, James. Let's talk about how the SUV, an inanimate object, this goes for any shooting, really. Like, well, let's blame the gun. Let's blame the object. Y'all, you cannot... They are inanimate objects. They do not do anything at all until they're manipulated by a user. It's kind of a stupid concept. Well, we need to blame the SUV. What do you think this is, Cars? You think, like, Kit from Knight Rider is in there and he managed to just drive himself into... No. It's stupid. It's really stupid when you think about it. These people want you to believe stupid things. All the world's a stage, dude. Well put. No one in mainstream media talks about Chicago, Baltimore, New York, Portland, Seattle, LA things that make you go, Yep, exactly. It's funny what they will talk about, but really pay attention to what they won't talk about. What they won't talk about is usually a very good indicator of where the truth lies. But even if they do, there's not legit coverage, nothing holding the leaders accountable. Concussion, yeah. Yep, concussion. Accountability is tough, Becca Lower. It's like you have to admit your faults and stuff. God forbid. The left doesn't want to solve problems. They need problems they create to fix. So they are in control. And that is how they do it. Never let a crisis go to waste. Never, ever, ever let a crisis go to waste. That is 100% accurate. And I think that the left does create probably a lot more problems than they actually intend to. But they have learned that if they create a problem, they can solve it by not solving it. The solution is utilize it to get more power. That's the solve. More power. We created this problem. We're not going to tell them we created the problem. We're going to blame something else, but we're going to use this opportunity to get ourselves more trust from the public by saying, hey, the real problem is this, and if you vote for us, we'll fix it. We know how because we're smart. Smarter than you. The irony is part of the reason they don't want to own up is because they worry that everyone will ask what else were they wrong about. But if they fessed up, people would actually appreciate them. I don't think at first. You are correct, Red. You are correct. And I've been saying that for a long time. You know, if they're wrong, I said this about COVID for a while too. Even when the information started coming in that the federal government, Fauci and all these people were wrong about COVID and its solutions, they had to keep the narrative going. They couldn't just say, oh, well, you know, the science says, because honestly, they weren't concerned about the science. They were concerned about the power that COVID was giving them. And so they could never admit that they were wrong. Because A, they would lose that power, and B, if the public found out that they were wrong about this, what else are they possibly wrong about? It really gets the gears going. And they do not want that. They don't want you thinking that hard. They want to do the thinking for you. India launched an unarmed nuclear missile into Pakistan by accident. Pakistan was not amused. I mean, I wouldn't be either. I would not be at all. Rahm Emanuel. Yep. Never let a crisis go to waste. His most famousest quote. And still not fix the problem. Well, I mean, fixing the problem wouldn't help them. if they can keep the power within it going. Concussions suck. I had a concussion after a head on a car on my head after on a car wreck. I was aware my brain wasn't working and could barely speak because I couldn't remember what the words were I was trying to say. God, that happens to me all the time. I'll get lost in thought. But that sucks. Concussions are no joke, dude. Concussions are no joke. One of my worst fears is like my grandma, she had dementia before she died. And she would, she would forget people. And, many of us have seen that. And all I can think is like, man, I don't know. I would not want to go out like that, being trapped in your own head. Your brain doesn't operate the way you want it to. That would scare the crap out of me, dude. In for a penny, in for a pound. They do that well. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's scary to think about. One final story before I let you guys go. I wanted to show you guys this because I thought it was very interesting. Y'all remember back in the day when the National School Board Association, decided that they were going to write to the president and ask the DOJ to get involved to investigate parents that were coming in and yelling at school board members for trying to indoctrinate their kids with CRT and sexualization and stuff? That was the final draft. The original draft of this story showed that they were actually asking Washington to bring in the National Guard and military police to school board meetings because they were wanting parents to be brought under control because they were scared. Here's the thing. They were saying, and this ties into the theatrics thing. Hang on. I'm going to get there for a second. They had been getting threats, especially one of the ladies of Loudoun County, Virginia, had been getting threats given to them and stuff, like you do. Whenever you become a national story, people send you death threats. That's what happens. It doesn't matter what you do. You're probably going to get a death threat or two. This one in particular, because of the Loudoun County stuff that was going on with the whole CRT, sexualization of children, and covering up a rape of a young girl by a trans kid, people were understandably angry. So parents started showing up at these school board meetings, effectively making these school board members seem very small, despite the fact that they were often seated on these daises. Have you guys seen these school board meetings? Some of these school board meetings, these people look like they're in high council chambers. It's grand. They look so grand and so like opulent. Like you're walking into a king's chambers and you will now be seated and you will have audience with the king. It's so stupid. Honestly, school board meetings need to take place on a gym floor. If I'm being completely honest with you, a school gym floor. You ain't that awesome. But anyway, these school board members were getting schooled, for lack of a better term, by these parents who were coming in and being like, hey, this is my kid, not yours. Things are going to change around here. You have parents serving school board members subpoenas, dressing them down, showing them, exposing what they are teaching these kids in schools. Sometimes the stuff that they were trying to teach these kids was so bad that they would not allow books that they were actually allowing students to read or teaching their students, wouldn't allow the words to be said in the hall, the grand hall of the school board area, because it was too graphic. Naturally, parents got mad, and these people started receiving death threats and harassment from the parents. And so they were saying, hey, Joe Biden, we want you to bring in the military. Can you bring in guys with guns to sit in and make sure that these parents obey and behave? Two things. Reuters went out and actually tried to investigate many of these threats that were released. Many of these threats came from out of state. Many of them. Meaning that the parents themselves technically they weren't actually sending these things. The parents weren't the ones acting up. It was these actors from out of state who were just trying to get a rise out of people, make people afraid. Because that's what happens whenever you become a public figure. You get national attention, and that includes people who hit their jollies off of taking advantage of people's fear. They're out there. It's what they do. The internet has given them a great place to do it. People get harassed and threatened all the time. Just over the weekend, I received an email with someone telling me that they hope I burn alive. Okay. So what? Many of these people, this is a weasel tactic from the left that happens all the time. Leftist entities, activists, school board members, stuff like that, will do something to really upset people, to whether it's trying to gain power of some kind over people, their children, make a statement that will then, or make a claim that will affect the way that businesses operate, all sorts of stuff. They'll do this, and people will come in and make very, very good points about why they shouldn't be doing what they're doing and why they should step down from their position of power and be replaced. And instead of owning up to their mistake, and instead of actually coming forward and saying, "Hey, my bad. That was my bad. Maybe I'm not cut out for this job, and I'll resign." Instead of doing that, what they will instead do, and this is a constant thing from the left that happens, they will do this weasel tactic of saying, "I'm being harassed and I'm being threatened. Look at these death threats. I'm getting death threats all the time. I need people to feel bad for me." This was a way to give an excuse. This particular story, this was a way for the school boards of America to have the excuse to bring in armed people to intimidate parents into not doing anything. It was them trying to utilize the military to enforce their power. Here's the thing about America. People need to understand this about Americans, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We literally have rebellion in our blood. If the military literally showed up, and this is, by the way, a very good example of how the left does not understand America. The radical left has completely lost touch with America and what it is and what we represent. If the military had showed up to these school board meetings with their guns and their intimidating presence, do you think parents would have bowed? Do you think they would have gotten scared? No, it would have pissed them off even more. These are their kids we're talking about. Do you think for 5 seconds they're going to be like, well, little Jimmy, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to learn how to be a racist transgender kid because there's a man with a gun over there? Please. That would have been even worse. It would have gotten so much worse. Parents would have they would have doubled at these school board meetings. Their anger would only be even that much greater. Y'all don't know Americans, apparently. But despite the fact that they didn't get this, despite the fact that they weren't able to get this is a draft letter. They didn't actually go through with asking for the military to show up. There's just the DOJ to investigate parents. But despite the fact that that was on their mind, maybe we can get the military to show up. Shows you what kind of people these people are. Shows you. They're willing to get guys with guns to show up to make you sit down and shut up. I thought it was very interesting. They were going to use theatrics to try to get the military to come enforce their will. Ain't that some crap? Daughter had to read the section out loud in class, so the mom was reading it to the school board. Many of those same books are age restricted on Amazon because of content. Yeah, I saw that clip and I was like, damn. And they were trying to shut that mom down the entire time. And I was like, good God. Like, you got to have some balls to not hear out what the mother is trying to point out that her child had to go through and be like, well, it's too graphic for this hall. Well, bro, you were having her young daughter read it out to the class. What did these people think was going to happen? Honest to God, I do not understand why these people think that they are going to have a like some sort of, like they were going to get away with any of this. Made no sense. Made no sense. Did they think that the parents were just going to lay down? No, dude. What a stupid thought. Whose piece is this? Ya boys. It's up on redstate.com right now. By the way, everything I've just talked about is on the front page of redstate.com. Go check it out. Go check it out. And like the stream if you haven't already. It really helps me out. Also, what helps me out is you go to redstate.com and signing up for the VIP program. Use promo code MORSE, M-O-R-S-E, on sign up. Every time one of you signs up, it makes us a little braver. And by braver, I mean it allows us to say things without consequence, because right now they really do want to push consequences on us for saying the truth. They have threatened before to take away our ad ability on multiple occasions. They're even getting to a point. AP actually started to go after Red State authors' tweets. It's that bad. Half the time I scan the address usually has a hint who wrote it. Oh yeah, Red, thank you so much. Guys, if you're looking for a really cool hangout, go to twitch.tv/the Morse Code. It's a non-political stream that I do. We just talk, play video games, just do whatever. It's good to get away from politics from time to time. It was coordinated to justify the use of force by the councils. Absolutely. Absolutely. It also goes to show you the success that parents are having, though. That's one of the biggest indicators you could possibly... The fact that many parents are so effective that... And they're by the way, Kira Davis right now is actually also running for school board to get these people out. But this is happening all over the country, and they're bringing these people to court. It's pretty crazy, and they're very effective. Parents are actually winning this battle, and like I don't understand why they thought the left thought that they would lose. The parents would lose it. This is the nation's kids that we're talking about here. Did they think that parents are just going to roll over? No. It was dumb. It was dumb of them to think that. You guys are doing a great job. If they are coming after you, LOL, I think you guys are awesome. Thank you so much, Amtrue. I really do appreciate it. Really do. Games, movie theories, the latest crumble cookie, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's what we talk about all the time. The weekly crumble cookie flavors. Do y'all have crumble cookie where y'all are? If y'all don't, y'all should get it. I think they're opening up all over the country, but like I'm obsessed. Appreciate you, readers. Amen. Amen. We really do appreciate you guys. Seriously, everyone who comes to this website, signs up for the VIP, chatters, lurkers, all of you. You guys are awesome. We really do appreciate it. That should, they should remember what happened when they went after Chick-fil-A, and now they're going for our kids. You know how earlier I said spite was a really great motivator? There it is. You had a lot of people trying to shut down something that everyone loved for doing nothing more than just being themselves. Y'all remember the Chick-fil-A thing wasn't like they made the claim that they hated gay people. They're discriminating against gay people, and all that happened, the owner said, "We believe in traditional marriage." That's all he said. Like a Christian would. Like a Christian would. And they tried to cancel Chick-fil-A over it, thus resulting in Chick-fil-A going gangbusters. I remember being there. I walked into we had one, I lived in Galveston at the time when that happened. Y'all, there was a line wrapped around the block like twice in order to get into a Chick-fil-A. What is crumble cookie? Oh, what is this? Is that peanut butter chocolate? Oh, no way. So this week's flavors are, what is that? Icing, peanut butter chocolate. What else you got? Is that Cocoa Puffs? Man, they get so creative. Like, they're doing cereals a lot, though. I'm going to guess that that's like butterscotch. Something like that. Milk chocolate chip, Nilla bean cupcake. Oh, chocolate peanut. Oh, dude. Oh, man. Oh, that's like my weakness right there. Berry crunch. Kentucky butter cake. Caramel coconut. Oh. I'm going to go on a diet, I said. I'm going to go on a diet. I'm not going to eat any more junk food. I'm not going to do that. I'm so stupid. I'm so freaking stupid. Why did I do that? Why did I look at the site? Why did y'all make me look at the site? This is your fault, chat. This is your fault. Owners are Christian. Why they are not so open on Sundays? Did you guys know that it's not just it's not just Chick-fil-A. It's also my wife's like favorite burger joint, In-N-Out. In-N-Out is a majorly Christian company. Majorly. If you look at the bottom of their cups, they actually have Bible verses written on the interior. It's pretty crazy. And they've been in trouble more than once because, especially recently, like because one of their stores in San Francisco got in trouble because they were like, we're not going to treat our customers like we're not gonna be authoritarian to our customers, because they were like, in San Francisco, they were like, if they don't have a vaccination card, they can't go into the building. And In-N-Out was like, nope, our customers are people. We're gonna treat them like such, like free Western individuals. They're coming in. And so I think they had to shut down that location in particular. But yeah, In-N-Out, great Christian establishment, believe it or not. Be careful though. The mod on the Morse code is an ugly meanie. Sheriff Red, he'll come and get you, boy. He'll come and get you. It's my fault. It is your fault, Becca. You made me look at that on the website. They have ice cream. Ooh, ice cream. Yeah, they do. I haven't tried their ice cream yet. I really do want to. If I want ice cream, I typically go to Dairy Queen. You know? Yeah, you can't beat Dairy Queen, but who knows? Maybe Crumble Cookie has like the best ice cream I've ever had. I should probably check it out soon. Might check you guys out after on Twitch after I get some sleep. Well, on Twitch, I'm live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Central Time. So if you really want in on that, by all means. But we don't talk politics there. We pretty much go anti-political. By the way, I saw somebody, just real fast. I know I'm going a little long. But I did want to make this up. I did want to talk about this. There was a woman. Let me pull this up because I even screenshot it. Her name is It's Lyrica on Twitter. And she said, having no politics as a rule in your stream is a huge red flag for a lot of us marginalized folks. So this drives me crazy. Here's the thing about politics, all right? This stream in particular is dedicated to politics because that's its purpose, right? My Twitch stream, however, is non-political. I'm not here to talk about politics. I'm here to have a good time. I'm here to get away, because here's a little lesson for those of you who don't work in politics. If all you do is politics all the time, you start to get a very skewed vision of the world. Right? It's like looking at the world through the wrong end of the telescope. You turn it around, everything is like it's just relegated to this little tiny thing, and everything is on fire all the time through this lens. Every now and again, you have to break away and do something that doesn't involve politics. In fact, purposely rejects politics. And it's also very healthy for us as a society to do that, because, to be honest with you, all politics all the times makes you an enemy of anyone who disagrees with you. You can see it right now. They tried to inject all this politics all the time into every single corner of our country, be it, our escapism on movies and TV, video games. They're trying to introduce politics all the time. Doesn't matter where you are. And it drives people crazy and it turns people against each other. If you have the ability to do anything without politics getting involved at all, do that. Because, to be honest with you, politics is, in my opinion, a very small subsection of our society that people are trying to make bigger because they have an agenda to push. And it rips us apart. You really get a true sense of what reality is when you step outside your front door and talk to your neighbor, your neighbor's neighbor. You know, you go to the grocery store, you see people, like you just talk to strangers. And you get, like, perfect example of what I'm talking about. I am a huge fan of improv. Big fan of improv. So much so that me and a couple of my buddies, we decided to go in for improv lessons. And we got teamed up with a lot of people who are diametrically opposed to us politically. And we became good friends with all of them. We didn't really talk about politics because we weren't there to talk about it. We knew each other's politics. We didn't care. We weren't there for that. We were there to have fun. And it just shows you that beneath the politicalization of everything are human beings. And I think it's more important to connect human to human than it is party to party. You know? And that's what makes me mad about this woman and her little, well, you know, it's a red flag to marginalized folks. At the end of the day, politics is about the self. It's about ideology, and they're trying to make everything about them and not the community, not reality, not the people. It's about them and their message. It's their theatrics. Let's call it that. I watch Chicken City sometimes. I've never heard of Chicken City. What is that? You're inclusive on Twitch, and that's a bad thing. I know. I shouldn't be inclusive on Twitch. I should make everything about politics all the time. God, that would be such a boring life. Can you imagine? I've stopped watching some game streamers because they injected politics. I'm not there for politics. Every now and again, they all do it. At some point in time, they all do it. I was watching Code Miko the other day, and she was telling a story about how she went on a date with a Republican who was not a Republican. He was like living off of government welfare, but she started to kind of get, like, the chat started to get political, and I was like, I'm not here for that, so I logged out. I'm a huge fan of Dr. Disrespect. In fact, I'm probably gonna, is he live right now? I think he is. He's usually live right now. Dr. Disrespect is a bit of a Republican, and he makes, from time to time, he'll make it clear that he is one without saying he is one. At some point in time, you're gonna get political. Like, you can't help it. The point is, even on my stream, on Twitch stream, like, I from time to time will get political. But I try not to get political in the actuation, or the actual sense of political. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing about society and social, like, interaction and culture. You can go into any given situation and you will influence people to your side just by being a good person. You know? Being an influence on someone's life goes just beyond you having a political conversation with them. It actually starts with you being relatable. And I think that for a long time is something that the conservative movement just could not figure out. They go in there like, well, we have facts and figures. Yeah, you do. But if you can't sell the facts and figures, you're not selling anything. You're not influencing anyone. And I think it's very important for us to get involved in the culture and relate to people on a basic human level so that you can see, as they have, the mainstream media and all these activists and top politicians and stuff have tried to make us blind to, you start to understand that behind all the politics are human beings who are just trying to do the best they can with what they've got and the experiences they have. And sharing these experiences on a level of appreciation and humanity of a person's humanity and who they are as a person is the fastest way for understanding to propagate throughout an entire nation. Maybe even go somewhere and spread love. Delphin YC. Much love to that guy. That might be interesting to hear from the readers. Do they watch cultural streams? Some of them do. I've had some people come to the Twitch stream and start hanging out. I had one just yesterday, actually. And he actually helped influence what we were playing that day. What she really means is you should make streams her politics. Yep, exactly. You need to be a carrier for my message. Now, isn't that kind of how the leftist activists do it all the time? Doesn't matter what it is. Whether it's, you know, the NFL, streamers, movies. Carry my message. I watch a Beehive stream. Be curious. You don't know what Chicken City is? No, I've never heard of that. What's Chicken City? Let's go, Brandon. That's what, yeah, Doc shouted that one day. During the height of the Let's Go, Brandon craze. Chicken City is Tim Pool's 24-hour live stream of his chickens. Oh, really? I stopped watching G4 because they ejected politics long before Frost. Yeah, it was sad. And it's blown his mind at how popular Chicken City has become and how much money it makes. Maybe there's a yearning for chicken raising. Going back to basics. Politics is downstream from culture, always. Amen. That should be PS3. Yep, exactly. Gonna check it out. Think sometimes I think it's too much and it's relaxing to take a break. Amen. Guys, that's gonna do it for me. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I really do appreciate it. Wow, we did actually go really long here. My apologies. I just had a lot to say. See, I get started. I talk a lot too, man. Anyway, guys, I will see you guys on Wednesday or tomorrow night, depending on what you want to do. If you want to come by my Twitch stream, you can. But Wednesday's story might be up to you. My DMs are always open. Tweet me at @TheBrandonMorse, and we'll find out what that is. And I will see you guys soon, whenever that is. Much love. Smile. We're winning. I'll see you guys later. Peace!